Hello, I'm Dr. Mikey Mewborn, and this is Leadership Development. Today we're looking at the topic, Celebrate Values and Victories. It's always important for us to celebrate the things that people value, the things that are important to them. Also, the victories that we have within an organization. So whether we're talking about a church or an organization or a company, corporation, anyone, we need to celebrate what that organization is doing well. And so we're going to look at that today in this lesson. It's good to be with you. Let's begin our study. Hello and welcome to Leadership Development. Today we're looking at the topic, Celebrate Values and Victories. It's good to be with you. Let's begin our study. I want to start by looking at this article. It's by reliableplant.com, and it says the top 10 reasons why leaders should celebrate wins. Number 1, remind you of the goal you set and why you set it in the first place. Number 2, remind you that a good, focused goal-setting process works. Number 3, motivates your team to continue delivering good work. Number 4, unifies the team around a positive outcome. And number 5, reminds the team that they work for a winning organization. Here's number 6. Forces you and your team to concentrate on the positive rather than the negative. Number 7, builds momentum for you and your team. Number 8, gets you away from mundane to day-to-day tasks. Number 9, allows you to connect with colleagues and coworkers in a way that is not just work-related. And number 10, allows you to reward specific employees. As you can see, there's a lot of reasons, 10 here, and of course we could break this down to more reasons, but these are the top 10 reasons why leaders should celebrate wins. It's important for churches, nonprofits, corporations, for-profits, leaders in general, to find ways to celebrate wins within an organization. It is vital. If the employee or the servant or volunteer within an organization is not excited and they don't see a lot of movement within the organization, they feel like it's getting stale. They almost feel like it's dying. And so what you need to do is work really hard to celebrate the things that are going well. Next, schedule celebrations throughout the year. Now, there are ways to do this, seasonal and cyclical celebrations. So find the types of celebrations that you can do throughout the year, such as a Christmas party. Well, you know that's not going to be in July or June for the most part, right? It's going to be in December and maybe late November, but that's when you're going to schedule that. You might even look at other celebrations. Of course, for a church, you're going to celebrate Easter. You're going to celebrate the resurrection. And so that'll be a very important time. But there might be another time that you would celebrate with any corporation. It might be the 4th of July. So you can do that in the secular world, the non-secular world. There are different ways to celebrate these things, but you need to do it and do it well and keep up what you have started in the past because people are looking for that. Sometimes organizations thrive because of traditions that have been created. So you want to make sure that you tap into that type of opportunity for you. The next thing is recognition celebrations. This is really important because you want to make sure that you celebrate people in what they've done as far as maybe a promotion. Maybe they have moved into a different department or maybe they are into a higher position. So you want to celebrate those things. Along with that, celebrations of accomplishment. They've accomplished something. So within their field or their department or their area, whatever it is, they have accomplished great things. And so you want to celebrate those. Maybe they're really good at reaching out to a certain group of people. Maybe they're really good as far as making a lot of contacts. You want to be able to do that. Celebrate personal events. So birthdays, anniversaries. When did they come into the organization? If they've been there now for 5 years, celebrate that. That's a really important thing. Note, make sure that you celebrate people fairly. Once a person is celebrated, others will expect a similar recognition. This is so important. So whatever you do or however you start, people are going to expect that for them or other people as well. And so this is important. If you're going to start some form of recognition or some form of celebration for a person, an individual, or a team, You got to be able to stick with that because people are going to be looking for that throughout the year or yearly. So that's important for us to look at. Unscheduled events. Employees and volunteers receive days off for calamity and grief. So if somebody goes through a very tough time, a loss of a family member, something that's devastating in their life, we need to be able to give them that time and to give them what's needed as far as time off. Religious holidays that may not be publicly recognized. Corporations are made up of all different types of people, and that means that different religions could be a part of an organization. Now, of course, when we're talking about church or a nonprofit, Christian nonprofit, we're going to know that they're pretty much on the same page. However, when you're looking into the secular world or you're looking into the world that's just kind of non-religious per se, you're going to notice that people live out and believe different things, and so they need time for their belief system. And so you need to respect that and understand where they're coming from. That's important. And the next thing, major sporting events and major city accomplishments might lead to time off. I put this in here because I think this is so true. What happens when a big city wins, for instance, the Super Bowl? Well, a lot of times businesses will shut down the next day for some kind of celebration in that city. It's fascinating. I grew up in Tampa, Florida, and I got to see this a couple of different times when the Lightning won the Stanley Cup or the Bucks won the Super Bowl. You know, it's just kind of interesting when you think about how major sporting events can almost shut down a city. So you have to think of that, and it might not be scheduled per se, but you might want to be open to it if you're in a certain area that has a major accomplishment or something great happens in an area. So that's more unscheduled. And then a major calamity or a pandemic. In 2019, a pandemic known as coronavirus disease 2019, also called COVID-19, really caused havoc around the world, and it led into 2020 and has brought a lot of devastation to the United States as well as countries around the world. And so people had to shut down their businesses. People were quarantined, had to stay home, and so that's a pandemic that people struggle with. That is a major one. And so with that being said, there might come a time when you have to allow people to stay home. Maybe they have an underlying condition. Maybe they are at-risk patients, and so they can't be around other people. Even though within a certain state it might be okay to meet, it may not be okay for that person to meet. So you need to work with this. You need to work with these people, and maybe they need the time off, and maybe you have to schedule that for the whole organization. So those are some things you have to look at when you're thinking about unscheduled events or unscheduled things that can happen that can cause not only havoc in an organization, but you need to give them the time off that's needed. So that's one of the things to look at there. Now, when we think about celebrate values and victories, I want to give you some thoughts on how to do that, okay? Bragging boards, and also known as KUDOS boards, which is kind of funny because KUDOS is Greek, comes from the Greek word KUDOS, which means praise and honor. So you praise and honor someone. A bragging board is usually placed in the entrance of for all the employees to see. So what that is it's this board, right? A cork board type thing that's filled with thank you notes from the management. For instance, a note might recognize the accomplishment of a certain employee that day. And so a lot of people have done this throughout the past. They put up these cork boards, they put up these bulletin board type things where people could just come along and either write thank you notes. The management could do that, or the administration could do that. But it's a great way to recognize people in an organization. With the high-tech world that we live in, there are other ways to do this now that are just as beneficial because people are online all the time. And this might be one of those ways. Here's Office 365, and they actually have kind of a bulletin board post or a kind of kind of this opportunity for an administrator to just come in and say, hey, kudos to so-and-so, kudos to so-and-so, great job with this, bragging on you guys today. And so it's just it's a great way for everyone to quickly see what's good about an organization and what's happening there. So that's always good too, bragging boards or kudos boards. Create a commemorative award. I have this here, reserved for Employee of the Month. This is one of those parking signs, right? This is what could go into a certain area. And so maybe the employee is used to parking 200 yards away from the building, right? Or 500 yards away from the building. And this is an opportunity for them to park very close or near to the entrance of the building, which is funny. All right. So the first thing we look at is the Employee of the Month. Which employee has done a stellar job for the organization? Highest sales associate, the person who's selling the most within a high sales type of business. So a lot of these people would be commission based, and if they're working in sales, maybe you celebrate that if they've got the highest wins. I've got family members in my life that are in sales, and they do a great job in sales. Whether it's selling cars, selling computers, selling labor and work and things like that, opportunities like that. Man, there's some great people in our family that can do this very well. And it's neat to see them do well in their organizations and get recognized for that. So that's always a good thing. Most Contacts Made award. Maybe you're the person that gets out there and knocks on the most doors, or maybe you're the person who makes the most phone calls, or you make the most contacts. And then celebrate people by effort. So celebrate them for the hard work that they've put in, not necessarily what they've always accomplished. The people that accomplish the most or look like they have the most success are not always the people that give the most or give the most effort. And so we need to make sure that we celebrate people by effort. Another way that you can do this, celebrate people, is by let employees vote. This is really important. We can think about some of the shows on TV that have been on TV for over a decade, shows like American Idol, The Voice, America's Got Talent, shows like that. What they try to do is let the people that are watching, the audience, be involved. Let them vote, and that way it gets more people involved. And if the people are the ones voting and they have more say, they take ownership of it. And so this can be a good way to get people involved in an organization. And then celebrate employees' Family Fun Day. Employees and their families enjoy cookout along with rides and games. Might be one thing you can do. Employee Appreciation Day. Employees enjoy a day of giveaways, awards, and training. When I first started working as a high schooler, I was working for a supermarket called Publix Supermarket. It's big, very big grocery chain down in Florida, where I grew up. And man, it's wonderful. Their deli section and their bread section, it's incredible. Their food is so good. And if you've ever eaten from the food from a Publix in the deli or the bread or the meat department, you'll know there's a little bit of a difference there. They pride themselves on certain things like that. But I worked for them for a while, and I became the manager of the dairy section at the Publix Supermarket, which sounds kind of funny because here I'm teaching in the role that I'm in now, and also been a pastor, all those types of things. But that's where I started out, and I loved working for Publix. But one of the things that they did really well is they celebrated their employees. They celebrated their families, and they celebrated their employees. And they offered these different experiences that were so fun, whether it was a training day or whether it was a family fun day. Great opportunities for families to get together, to get to know each other, and to really feel a part of the Publix family. And so, yes, everybody has their family, their personal family. They might have their church family. They might have their sports families that they're involved with. But Publix did a great job of having the Publix family, and you could be a part of them. And so I always thought that was really special, and I learned a lot from being a part of that. Now think about celebrate church and community. Churches offer picnics and festivals to celebrate their ministry in a certain community. These events usually celebrate God's work within the church and the community, celebrate the staff and a certain group of individuals, help people to get to know one another. And so this is another great way for a certain group of people, like a church or a nonprofit, to celebrate or recognize people and recognize them in a setting that is so enjoyable, such as like a big tent, a big picnic. Maybe you'll have some blow up games for the kids and some bounce houses and things like that. But there's all different types of things that you can put into a church picnic or festival that are a lot of fun. But one of the things that I have always appreciated and enjoyed being a part of these things is when the church recognizes the people that are putting in a great amount of effort at these. And so they take a little bit of time and they celebrate them, and everybody claps and cheers, and maybe there's some jokes said and all that type of thing, but it's always a lot of fun. And I think this is a great way for a church to celebrate values and victories within their community as well. All right, this has been Celebrate Values and Victories. It's so good to be with you today. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right, that concludes our study today about celebrate values and victories. As you can see, we go through a lot of different things in this life. People are working with us, they're working for us, they're doing everything that they possibly can to help our organization do well. And so what we want to do is celebrate them. We want to recognize them for their efforts and their accomplishments, and we want to celebrate what's going on within the company. As I've mentioned for you throughout this lesson, there are a lot of different examples we can look at, whether we're talking about the nonprofit world, like churches or nonprofits in general, or we're looking at for-profit organizations such as public supermarkets. We see that there are wonderful ways to celebrate the employees or the volunteers within an organization. So there's some great ways to do that. And so it's been good to be with you today. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.